MUST was established in collaboration with the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, otherwise known as MIT. We also inherited MIT's world-class system and culture.
Our mission today is to provide students and working adults cutting-edge education and skills that are current and relevant to industry needs and ensures 100% employability.
In fact, QS World University rating granted us 5 stars for teaching and learning because of our world-class faculty, 5 stars for employability of our students, and number 1 in Asia for international students.
One of MUST's keys to success is our ongoing collaborations with our industry partners to make sure that our curriculum meets the industry standards present and future. We enable our students to have future internships and employment opportunities. We work with other universities from all around the world to ensure that our students have the best academic experiences.
We specialize in 3 areas: transport and logistics, business management, and information technology.
Our Transport and Logistics School is the front runner in Malaysia with faculty members who have rail industry experience. We are also the founding member of Asia Logistics and Supply Chain Council with prominent industry players sharing their best practices. That's why our students are offered employment even before they graduate.
In this day and age where the pace of digitalization is accelerating, we are continually developing innovative IT programs to meet the needs of industry and the IT world. As a mark of international recognition, the International Telecommunication Union has designated MUST a centre of expertise in the Internet of Things and IP version 6. In addition, MUST is a founding member of the Smart Industry Association Malaysia and has formed partnerships with multinational manufacturers such as Bosch and Daikin.
The business management faculty at MUST is led by industry experts, and this has allowed us to get membership with AACSB, which is the worldwide recognition for business schools around the world. Our MBA program is currently offered in many global centers such as China, India, Sri Lanka, Vietnam, as well as Myanmar. When they complete the MBA program, they are business ready for employability in practically any sector at all. We were already having online sessions with our MBA candidates even in 2019, before the onset of COVID-19 pandemic. This is very important. Why? Because it allows us to combine groups of students from a transnational grouping, so that international exchange of ideas is something really incredible.
MUST is a leading Malaysian university of choice when it comes to PhD programs. We currently have more than 200 active students in our program. We have an outstanding track record in PhD supervision and guiding our students in publishing their research work in emerging fields such as Industry 4.0, digitalization, supply chain management, AI, and more. MUST's world-class faculty and researchers, along with our international recognitions such as AACSB membership, CMI UK, QS World University Ratings, and eQuiz, make us a highly sought-after school for postgraduate education.
Here at MUST, we have Students Experience and Affairs Department, also known as SEED.
Our Student Experience and Affairs Department takes steps to ensure our personal growth through programs that can help develop our communication and leadership skills, as well as teamwork.
We strive for our students to not only have the best academic experience, but also the best on-campus lifestyle experiences. We have weekly ongoing activities as well as different clubs and societies such as the Lunchtime Club, Bowling Club, Esports Society, and so much more.
As a MUST student, one of the perks we have is learning from Infinity Academy, which is one of the best performing arts training center in Malaysia. You would think that when you're going into technical courses that people are just focusing on IT and transport and communication, things like that. But when we go into performing arts, I saw most of my classmates breaking out of their shell. And it also is a benefit because I gain 10 academic credits.
A MUST student is someone with high integrity, commitment, great attitude and good values. I'm glad I've chosen this university as my stepping stone. 100% employability is what MUST aims for all students. I'm confident that I'll have a bright future.
So come and join us at MUST.
So is Dr. Kui joining us also? Dr. Kui, are you in? He did some very good sharing.
Dr. Kui,
Dr. Kui,
not yet. So I think he's just replying to some of the remarks in the earlier session.
Yeah.
I see.
Mr. Feroz? I think
you're live now, Nurusha. You can go ahead.
okay. Very good evening to all the participants. Yeah, it is my pleasure to be a moderator for this July 2021 workshop. I am Nirusha Subbaramaniam, and on behalf of the Malaysia University of Science and Technology, Institute of Postgraduate Studies, I would like to extend a warm welcome and greetings to our speaker today, Associate Professor Dr. Harvinder Singh. Yep, the deans, students. Before that, we have to greet these faculty members here, students, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, so we appreciate you taking time off your busy schedule to join us today. So very good morning, good evening, and a warm welcome to all of you here today. So to begin the workshop, since we don't have Professor Dr. Prem Kumar here, he will join us later. So we'll let him to say a few words later, yeah. So without a further ado, we will start. I'd like to invite our distinguished speaker, Associate Professor Dr. Harvinder Singh, to deliver his talk entitled "Surviving the PhD Adventure." Please welcome Associate Professor Dr. Harvinder Singh.
Thank you, Nirusha. Yes, let's jump into this discussion. So what we are going to do here is that I'll start sharing my screen first. Let's go here, screen share. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so although this is our PhD community event, I understand that this is also being broadcast live on YouTube. So once again, welcome to this session. Welcome to our adventurers, those who are on our PhD program. Special welcome to those who are doing the MBA programs and then have chosen to find out about the PhD adventure. And I like the choice of this word adventure, because I think it is a matter of your state of mind, whether you consider it an adventure or peril. Welcome also to my fellow supervisors and my colleagues in the IPS. Thank you very much for organizing this and giving me the opportunity to be here today. Yeah. So let's jump into our discussion straight away. First thing to note is that for PhD to be an adventure, it has to be a journey. It's not a one-off event. Yeah, it's a journey. And this is a very famous quotation among the research circles at the Malaysia University of Science and Technology, that PhD is a journey, not a destination. And once you have a PhD to your name, your life will never be the same again. Yeah, and these famous words were said by, of course, our president, Prof. Prem Kumar Raja Gopal, and I hope that he will be able to come in and grace this particular talk. And yesterday, I was with Dr. Khairi with another PhD pre-viva presentation, and I'm sure others have said something similar, but I want to acknowledge Prof. Barjoy. So he was explaining to the candidate very beautifully, that PhD is your journey. And I would like to say journey of adventure from curiosity to discovery. Yeah. So first of all, we need to understand what PhD is all about. And so I will take a few minutes to talk about PhD. Then I will talk about how you can professionalize your approach to this program. And then I will talk a bit about survival tips. Yeah. I understand that the last 10 minutes are for Q&A. So I will try to keep to time to complete my messages in the next 30 minutes or so. So what is PhD? Yeah, it's a doctorate in philosophy. And what's philosophy? Philosophy is wisdom. Yeah, wisdom. Not necessarily new knowledge, but it is the ability to bring together different facts and put them into a rosary of logic and ideas. And that is why PhD is an adventure, because like I said just now, if you go through the PhD journey with the positive attitude, uh, your life will never be the same again. Why? Because you will come out of that journey a better person, a better version of yourself. And I might say even maybe the best version of yourself. Because the one thing that PhD will do straight away is it will make you a better reader, a better thinker, and a person with better logic. Because these are the faculties that you are going to call upon when you are walking through your PhD journey. Yeah. And I remember Dr. Janaka shared a certain slide with us, and he always emphasized that your PhD must always add to the existing body of knowledge and wisdom. Ask yourself, how is my research going to make a difference? Yeah. And so the end game should be that if this is the existing body of knowledge and this is your new research, where does the new research come in? Just that tip outside the circle. Sometimes I think people want to put too much stress on themselves by thinking that they have to make some groundbreaking discovery, some entirely new philosophy, some entirely new concept. No, knowledge is built in little steps, in little parts. And as long as your thesis can add to one little aspect of knowledge, if you discover that there's a certain gap in knowledge and understanding, if you discover that there's a certain gap in a certain process, if you discover that there are certain issues that need to be addressed which have not been addressed, and when you address that, you will be able to understand what your research journey is going to be like. So if I'm talking about some research in the area of IT, maybe I want to find out how is the banking industry taking on the digitalization of their services. Yeah. And how would digitalization in a service industry work, for example? Yeah. And how would virtual reality kind of technology be used to improve the interface and experience of bank customers? Now, all of these things that I'm mentioning to you are things that people at MUST are researching already on. Yeah, so these are not far-fetched ideas, but they are adding to the existing body of knowledge, and it can become exciting by just putting on a sliver of knowledge over what is existing. If you're in transport and logistics, how can you bring in IoT into the port system? Just before this, we were having a meeting with the biggest center for marine logistics education in Sri Lanka. And I'm sure that there is so much of opportunity to bring digitalization. If you look at two broad themes that are going on in the world now, people are talking about either digitalization or sustainability. Now, whether you are an MBA candidate doing your research project, or you're an MBA candidate thinking about doing some kind of research in the future because you want to add doctor in front of your name, or whether you are a PhD candidate already stuck in the throes of your research, or even if you are a PhD candidate towards the end of your PhD adventure, consider this: how the world has changed because of the importance of digitalization and the relevance to sustainability. Sustainability has become a very real issue these days. Yeah. And so don't try to change the whole world overnight. I don't think you want to stress yourself by trying to choose a topic, a research topic, which must be world changing. I think this German gentleman, he discovered X-rays by accident, yeah, when his wife's hand was exposed, or rather his hand was exposed to the X-rays. And in 1928, Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin. Yeah, and this was the first move towards antibiotics. The same thing with insulin. Yeah, some of you might be interested to know that even Viagra was actually originally being tested for heart patients, but then while being tested on heart patients, one of the chemists within the British faculty realized that it had other side effects, unexpected side effects. And you can find this whole story told by chemist Sir Simon Campbell and biologist Dr. Peter Ellis on BBC Discovery. So your research might lead to something like this, but it does not have to be. Often you don't know. And I think this is the first thing that I want to share with you. When you start on your PhD journey, don't look for the conclusion straight away. Keep a clear mind. Your mind should be like an empty slate. And then you will do really good research. In fact, I find that there are sometimes our PhD candidates and even MBA candidates who tend to want to go into the conclusion straight away rather than trying to build up the research, which means they already have a kind of an idea of what they are going to expect. Now, having a kind of an idea of what to expect can later be translated into a hypothesis. That's a different thing altogether. But you should not actually have the conclusion. Yeah. So Stephen Covey's statement, begin with the end in mind, does not have to mean a specific conclusion. All it has to be is that you want to find something new. You want to add value to your profession. You want to add value to your community. You want to add value to academia. You want to add value to the IT industry, to the engineering faculties that you are with. You want to add value to the world of supply chain and logistics. And now people are beginning to realize that supply chain and logistics is not just about lorries and trucks and ships and planes. It is also about moving money. It is also about moving information. And so you see, when you start thinking in a broad umbrella way, there will be so many different research adventures waiting for you. Yeah. Okay. So first, survival 101. Yeah. to professionalize your approach. How do you go beyond your master's thinking? Yeah? If I am a master's level candidate, if I'm doing a MSc, and my research area in my MSc was maybe in 3D printing or something like that, uh, uh, how can I use as my passion to go beyond that? Is there something in my master's journey that I wish that people had looked into? Is there something in my master's journey that I have always been curious about, but I'm just wondering how come the authors at my master's level did not talk about that? Yeah, or you might already be a working person, or you might already be a social worker, or you may have gone through a certain experience which you feel that if only the world knew what you know. And that is the great power of PhD. Yeah, that's the great adventure of PhD, because once you become a PhD doctor, you get your doctorate. When you publish, people will want to read what you publish. It's like a license to have yourself heard by everybody, yeah, on planet Earth. So maybe you encountered a problem while you were doing your master's, and you think that you can find the solution. At masters, we always say to people, you have to use proper references, you have to use proper guides, you cannot use your own opinion. But the beauty of a PhD dissertation is that in the final chapter, depending on the format that you are using, whether it's 5 chapters or 6 or 7, in the final chapter, you can express your opinion. You can bring together things and say, now, based on my study, based on my thesis, this is what it should be. Yeah. Or you might have discovered some new events that are happening. COVID is a phenomenon. You might say, wow, what a phenomenon. What are the different angles at through which I can look at it? How would COVID be looked at from a medical point of view? How would COVID be looked at from a technical point of view? How would COVID be looked at from a supply chain and logistics point of view? Because we need to send vaccines to everybody. How would COVID be looked at from a business model point of view? So it's incredible how you can actually find great ideas. Yeah. So whenever you want to put an idea down, and this was actually research done by Harvard University. Yeah. And Harvard University has found that all those people who graduated from Harvard School of Business generally end up to be very successful. So they went out and asked these people, tell us what your daily life is like. How do you run your day? How do you make decisions? How do you think? Yeah. And they found out that the most sophisticated thinkers are those who write down their thoughts. So don't wait for the PhD to begin. If you are in it, that's fine. Whether you are thinking of PhD, or whether you are starting your doctoral degree program, or whether you are in the throes and thick of it, keep writing down your thoughts. Sometimes when you are reading something, you will get an idea, and then it's always a good idea to write it down. My suggestion to people is that if you don't want to lose what you have read, always copy and paste and put in a separate Word document other than your thesis, and keep gathering your file. You can do that online now, and that way you will also save some trees, isn't it? Yeah. And you can keep actually putting in whatever readings you have done, but don't just put in the readings and then forget about it. I often suggest that once a week, just go through what you have collected, not what you have written yet, what you have collected. Read again and see how those ideas will fit into your thesis. Yeah. Sometimes I think a good idea is to put down your research intent as your DV. Yeah, what will be the outcome of your research? And if at all you are going to use Stephen Covey's begin with the end concept, then that is what it should be. What will be my DV? What is it that I hope my research will do? What will be my outcome? How will this add to knowledge? Yeah. Am I going to do some work that is conceptual? Am I going to scope it specifically? How scoped is it going to be? Or is it cutting edge? Is it state of the art? Yeah. Are these new concepts? Yeah. So these are some of the things that you might want to do. Now, I'm going to move the curtain to one very important part of your PhD adventure, and that is meeting your supervisor. I don't know how many of you recognize this, but this is the actor from The Heist. Yes, the network series. Yeah, he's the professor. I hope your supervisor doesn't look so serious. Yeah, but the important thing is one of the ways to survive the PhD journey is to manage your own expectations. Yeah. And so how do you match the expectations? Well, from what I have seen in the last many years, when we have been talking to PhD candidates and students, some students, not all, some students feel, oh, the supervisor will hold my hand, will tell me, now you do this, now you read this, now you do that. I don't think that as a researcher you want that. I don't think as a researcher you want to walk in somebody else's shadow. Your adventure should be unique to yours, to your journey. Every PhD journey should be a unique adventure, unique to the person going through it. Yeah. Or my supervisor will give me template to fill in the blanks. Yeah. Sometimes we do. My brother, Dr. Janaka, gives people little templates and pieces to help them along, to nudge them along. But I think as supervisors, we always want to make sure that we don't imprint too much of our own thinking on people. We want them to find their own logic, their own philosophy. Yeah. My supervisor will show me how to do referencing. My supervisor will teach me how to use my Word document. Um, these are skills that you have to learn as you go along. So this is what the adventure is all about. It is not about just gathering a few facts and putting them together. No, it's about learning many related research skills, statistical skills, word documentation skills, referencing skills. When Einstein was trying to get his ideas of the theory of relativity across, he couldn't connect some of the things in his formula because at that time he had not studied certain mathematical procedures. They were not taught to him in school. And so he reached out to a friend, a fellow professor, and told him, can you teach me this? And he spent 1 year learning the new kind of maths before he came back to his research. And then he gave us the theory of relativity. Yeah. So sometimes students also expect us to rewrite certain portions of work to improve it. I'm guilty of that. Sometimes I give people one paragraph and then I tell them, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? What do you think about this? But I would not give you more than one paragraph. And I don't think as a supervisor, you should expect me to do that too. So what is our point of view as supervisors? Well, I was just saying to some people the other day, as a supervisor, you as the researcher, you are driving the research. So if you are in the driving seat, I'm just the driving instructor. I'm not driving the research. Yeah, I'm just the driving instructor. I will coach, I will suggest, but I will always take care to make sure that I do not imprint myself on students' research. A little bit of imprint is always there. I mean, when I go to Vivas and when we are sitting down as examiners or co-examiners or supervisors where our candidates are being examined, I find that when we call our fellow supervisors to come and talk about, or rather to assess the research. Many of them have certain preferences based on their own adventure, the adventure that they had. So I would suggest to my fellow supervisors who are here, of course, what adventure we had gone through has got a very big impact on how we look at things, how we place more emphasis on logic or format, how we place more emphasis on flow of thought, how sophisticated it is, and how good the conclusions are, or on referencing. Different people have different views about this, and I'm not here to make a comment on that. But I think the important thing is that everyone, supervisors, researchers, to be researchers, about to become full doctors, all of us have to just keep reading so that we keep growing. Yeah. And often for me, the joy of being part of the PhD process is to actually have great intellectual discussion. This is why we have our colloquiums. And, these 3 colloquiums that we have, every time I am running up to the colloquium, well, first, what happens is all my students whom I'm supervising will start in the first 2 weeks before the colloquium, start writing to me, hey, this is what I've done, this is what I want to do. So it's a bit of a frenzy. Then the colloquium itself is an amazing melting pot of great ideas. Yeah. And it is something to live for. Yes, that's the adventure. The colloquium is part of the adventure. Yeah, and sometimes if I think my student is strong enough, I would also challenge my students' logic. How did you choose your population? Why did you define your sample this way? Things like that. So when your supervisor asks you this question, they are not trying to bully you. They're just making sure that you come to your own happy conclusions. What are the challenges that you will have to overcome? Sorry. Well, what the supervisors say. Supervisors say, well, students run into problem if they have this dependency syndrome, that they are dependent too much on the university. Oh, please give me this. They are dependent too much on the supervisor. You have to teach me this. Of course, we have research methodology class. The purpose of the research methodology class is actually to share with you the university's expectation of what the format of your research ought to be. That's all. Yeah. And sometimes ego gets in the way. So there's a problem and people don't discuss that problem, or they don't believe that what they have done is wrong. It's not easy to take rejection, I know. Yeah. And if you go and your supervisor says, no, that's not right, you have to please do something more. But the supervisor sometimes will not tell you, turn right here, turn left there, stop here. You might have to figure that out a little bit yourself. Yeah. Sometimes people fall out of the rhythm, poor progress. I'll tell you how to deal with this also. Yeah. Sometimes we get stuck in a certain idea or paradigm. Worst of all, when we are doing our literature review, we read one author and that person has written something so brilliant, and our thoughts get pulled that side. And then another person has written something very good and we get pulled the other way. That is why I suggested to you just now, if you want to survive these different intellectual tug of wars in your mind, take all these ideas and put them in a Word document and look at it 1 week later. And when you look at it at 1 week later and put it in context, your critique is going to become beautiful. Yeah? Critique is not criticism. Critique is looking at the pros and cons, the values, the benefits, and the limitations and shortcomings of a certain idea, of a certain concept. Yeah. Not all concepts are easy. So sometimes we also have people who have certain conceptual difficulties. And if your supervisor is kind, he or she will tell you, why don't you look at it from a different angle? So when they are telling you that, then they are basically suggesting to you that if you go along this path, you may not be able to do justice to the logic behind it. Yeah. And inability to accept criticism, delicate egos. Well, I have nothing to say for that. Yeah. But I hear sometimes candidates come and tell me, I could not get along with my supervisor, so I had to give up. If you want something in life bad enough, you will get along with just about anybody. Yeah, that's all I can say. Yeah. And what the students say, of course, we must look at the students' point of view also, isn't it? Yeah. Students say that sometimes I feel I've been left alone. I feel that my supervisor is not supporting me enough. And sometimes it is true. Yeah, because your supervisor might be supervising another 9, 10, or sometimes more than that people. Yeah. And for you, your research is your world. For the supervisor, your research is one star in the sky of research. Yeah. So you have to just keep that in mind. Yeah. Topic becomes too wide. Like I said, when you read, it is very likely that the people whom you read will pull your thought process all over the place, and sometimes not knowing what is expected. So this is why it's so important that you have to go back to the university's handbook, look at it again. It is very important that no matter whether you attend a research methodology class already or not yet, that you read at least 2 or maybe 3 research methodology books. There are good research methodology books available online. When you read the research methodology books, don't read them to try to remember everything. No, that would add stress to your life. Read them like you read the newspaper. Read them like you read a favorite blog, and just take key ideas which will actually resonate with you. And that's good enough. And that is what is the variety, which is the spice of life. Yeah. There could be practical issues, money, lifestyle, trying to get hold of your supervisor. There could be stress, especially during your research proposal presentations and viva. It is stressful. I know that when I did my presentation, it was a topic area which I was comfortable in, but when I did it, oh, I know that stress. So I sympathize with you. If every time you have to speak at a proposal presentation and a viva, because you got 3, 4, 5 people there who are going to look at your work with a fine-tooth comb. And of course, they are there to actually, at the end of the day, help you to create a masterpiece of your thesis. Yeah. Sometimes supervisors are too prescriptive, and also there's a lack of confidence. Do I have about 5 minutes more, Nirusha?
Yes, doctor. If you want extra time, you can go ahead.
Okay.
Maybe 5
There are
minutes
10,
extra. Yeah.
yeah, 10 survival tips. So I'll probably finish in about 10 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, doctor.
Thank you. This is the advice which my supervisor gave to me when I went to see him the first time. My supervisor, by the way, was Professor Prem Kumar Rajagopal, president of MUST. Yeah, yeah, he was my supervisor, and we both industry guys. I'm a banker. He used to be from Intel, yeah, research. So we spoke a lot of the same language. But the first thing he told me is, don't worry about the title. Go ahead, go and read this, read on corporate governance. My topic was a bit technical because I was talking about internal controls over financial reporting and how they can help the corporate governance framework of a company. Yeah. And so he told me go and read first. And I actually did reading for 3 months before I decided, yes, this is where I'm going to scope my research. Yeah, so don't try to jump into this straight away. Sometimes I have this, people come to me and say, I think I want to do a research and this is my title. I say, okay, fine. What do you know about this title? Recently, we had one candidate and she said, I want to do this, 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 this. And when she wrote back to me, I realized that what she originally had told me and what she was actually going on about was a bit different. Not only that, it was outside my area of expertise. So I had to request IPS to say, look, this is what the research intent is all about. Now that I know that this is the research intent, to be fair, I don't want to go and stamp on every person and say, yes, 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 only I can be your supervisor. I suggested that another person who is more talented in that area should become the supervisor. So, but the important thing to remember is you want to survive the journey, read. And I have suggested this before also in my talks. A researcher doing a doctoral degree program should read, maybe if weekend is a free time for you or something like that, make it a target to read at least 5 articles or 5 sources of information every weekend. And during the week, of course, whenever you have time, you do your reading and all that, that's fine. But give your Saturday, Sunday time for reading. Yeah. And when you read focused stuff, we call it reading with a purpose, you will find that even while you are doing your work, you will become a more sophisticated thinker. When you write emails to people, they will become more clear. When you communicate with your colleagues and your family and friends, your communication skills will become better. The benefit of the PhD adventure is not what you're going to get at the end of it, but the benefit of the PhD adventure is that you can start reaping the benefits immediately. You read, you get the benefits. Yeah. So that's why Jim Rohn, one of my mentors, always used to say, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Yeah. What is it that I don't have? Oh, I don't know how to use Excel. Well, let me learn up Excel. Oh, I don't know how to do the paraphrasing for certain words. Then let me go to YouTube and listen to some YouTube videos. Yeah. So think through your title, your research objectives, your research questions, and your conceptual framework. Think about this again and again and again, and keep asking yourself, are they aligned or not? Because this is one of the first things that people ask you, isn't it? I think those of you who have gone through the research proposal experience know exactly what I'm talking about. So keep aligning this, because in the best of cases, we can actually get misaligned. I had to write my chapter 1 a few times until I got the idea, yes, this is where my title, my research objectives, my research questions, and ultimately my DV is all going to be aligned. Yeah. This is Prof. Abu Bakar, and I want to just share the words that he used, when he was the examiner for one of the candidates. And I love this word. He said, whatever PhD study you do, make sure that you have the curiosity of a child. Yeah. So your work must be exploratory, like you are an explorer, finding new stuff. You are on an adventure, looking at things which maybe people have not seen through the lens of your mind before. Yeah. And you must be thorough. Don't say, yeah, I know this. Okay, that's fine. No, make sure that by the time you finish your thesis, you are a certified expert in that particular area of work. Yeah, be thorough. And thorough is one thing, being detailed. They say the devil is in the details, but also be exhaustive, meaning to say, now I understand this. Are there any other related things that I need to know so that I can look at things from every angle? Now, it is true that maybe you say you have 300 to 500 references. But for the 300 to 500 references that you use in your PhD thesis, you probably have read more than 1,000 pieces of work, yeah, and minimum 5 every weekend. Read 5. Set aside a time for reading, mulling, things like that. Whether you're doing it online or from a book, it doesn't matter. And take notes as you go along, because that is definitely going to become part of your intellectual heritage. Yeah. Okay, we are almost at the end of my discussion. So remember to define your new rhythm. That is very important. Please note that a PhD research project is a big project in your life. So please treat it very professionally. In that, if you are going to do project management, you should know that this is the start of the project. These are the different deliverables at different points of the project, and this is my end game. Yeah. So in the same way, you should know what are the resources that you will need to get your project successful. What changes you will need to make. Because if you think you don't need to make changes, then you're kidding yourself, isn't it? Yeah. What changes you will need to make to your personal lifestyle, to your leisure time, to your family time, yeah? To your TV time, to your Netflix time. Yeah? You have to define your new rhythm. And if you don't define the rhythm, it's very easy to just get off the rails. After some time, you say, oh, well, it is, you know what research says? Research reading says, dear researcher, if you leave me for one day, that means you don't meet your target, your rhythm, I will leave you for 7. And if you leave me for 1 week, I will leave you for 7 weeks. So make sure you define your new rhythm of life. Everything needs to fall into place. Don't try to set goals that are too high. Set short-term goals that I am going to finish writing on this part, my first writing. Yeah, just write. Don't worry about it being wrong. If it is wrong, that's okay. That is your supervisor who will have to take Panadol to make sure he gets you back on the right track again. Yeah, but set short-term goals, and that will build up. Okay, by this time I finish this. People are very good in building Gantt charts and things like that, but they never follow them. You know. So please be sincere, yeah, to the short-term goals. Third one, I think this is a very important suggestion that I'm making. Don't fall in love with one particular idea. Don't fall in love with one particular way of looking at an issue. Don't fall in love with your own idea. Be open to other ideas. Yeah. So that's what I mean by don't fall in love. Because when you do that, you will get stuck in a rut, and it will become very difficult for you to develop agility of thinking. But if you can go through all of these things and you can survive all the adventures, the ups and downs of PhD, I mean, think about this. If I said to you, here is a book I recommend to you. Please read this book. This is an interesting book. So you look at chapter 1. Chapter 1 says, it was a wonderful day. The sun was shining. The birds were singing. Chapter 2. It was a wonderful day. The sun was shining. The birds were singing. Chapter 3. It was a wonderful day. The sun was shining. The birds were singing. Do you want to read that book? Of course not, because it's not an adventure. Do you expect every pathway of your PhD journey to be so easy and so smooth that the sun is shining, the birds? No, there will be times when you will be frustrated, when you will go to Google Scholar or you will go to Emerald and you will be finding that particular article. You've been looking at it for 1 hour. You didn't find that relevant article. Never mind, leave it. Come back to it again. So, and that is what makes the adventure. so delicious. That is what makes the reward at the end of it so worthwhile. I can tell you there's no feeling in the world like that. Yeah, when we turn around and then address you instead of Trandak Thai, for the first time you will hear Dr. Trandak Thai. Wow. Nothing beats that feeling. Thank you very much indeed. So wish you all the great success, doctors. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Associate Professor Dr. Harvinder Singh. Yeah, thank you for the informative and valuable talk. Okay, so now let's open the floor, the virtual floor for Q&A session. I'm sure Associate Professor Dr. Harvinder Singh would be pleased to answer all the questions from the participants. Yeah. So now I think we can use the chat box function. Okay. So any questions from the participants?
Yes. Ma'am, can I have a question?
Yeah, sure.
My name is Hafiz Asim. I'm from Pakistan. I'm a student of a PhD here. Sir, having the way you talked about the PhD, it looks like a very easy, but it is not. I had experiences with my mind. There are different barriers. I just want to extent of my experience like these barriers. How can we break these barriers? Number one, the language barrier between a supervisor and a researcher. For example, I'm basically a medical student, and how can my supervisor is basically a economist. So that is a very different nomenclature we are using in different way.
For sure.
Number one, sir. Number two, during this period of PhD, I felt that the curiosity gradually decreases because the university's laws and principles bound the candidate to follow these principles, not to dig out the new curiosities. These are two my questions. So, how can we? Find these. Break these challenges. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you, Hafiz. Actually, very good questions. And, these questions are very much structural questions, as far as the language barrier is concerned, if you reckon that there is a language barrier because of the theme of the research that you are looking at is in a specific field. For example, I wouldn't dare to try to supervise someone who is doing IT. People who are in the IT world, after 10 minutes, when what they are talking about is not understandable by me. Yeah, so I wouldn't want to do that. Yes, that's true. And so, like what you said in your case, if there's a language barrier, you have to get back to IPS and state this specifically, that my topic requires nomenclature from the medical fraternity. My paper requires nomenclature from the medical sciences field. May I have a supervisor with that skill? Then if we are the university, before we registered you, we would have asked you this question. But if we didn't, then it becomes our responsibility to make sure that we get you a medical doctor. Yeah, that is one. And I say this on behalf of IPS. I think there's some feedback. Yeah. Secondly, the issue about curiosity. Is there some feedback, Nirusha?
No, doctor.
Okay, fine. Curiosity is. I'm getting feedback. I hear my own voice.
Nirusha, can you mic everybody again? That will help everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Gobind. Oh, Gobind is here. Gobind, you don't need to hear this. You've heard enough of me.
I have a question for you after this.
Oh dear. Okay. So anyway, curiosity can be killed when we have to follow certain formats, certain procedures, certain research conventions, and things like that. Yeah. And I think the important thing to remember is that if you feel your curiosity is waning, stop reading the kind of things that you're reading and try to read something else related to your field, but try to read something else. Or even some people suggest that, if you need to take a break from your research reading for 1 week, take a break from your research reading for 1 week and then see if your curiosity comes back. But I think building curiosity is a very personal thing. I cannot have a more definitive answer than that. Yeah. Okay, I'm happy to note that Prof. Prem has come in already. Should we give the
Thank you,
floor?
sir. Thank you, sir.
Welcome, Hafiz. Welcome.
Yeah. So let's invite Prof. Prem Riyad, Doctor.
Yes.
So we have our President of Malaysia University of Science and Technology, Professor Dr. Prem Kumar Rajagopal. So let's invite him to say a few words. Welcome, Professor Dr. Prem Kumar.
Dr. Harvey, Nirusha, and the IPS team. A very good evening to all of you, and also the dear participants who are in this forum today, going through the sharing from Dr. Harvey. Yeah, I'm glad that Malaysia University of Science and Technology is able to offer you this to give you a feel of PhD. Yeah, and not just the journey, but also how to make it a success. Yeah, it is a time investment in PhD. You're investing your time. Yeah, forget about the money. The money is the other part of it aspect. What is most important in PhD is time investment. Yeah, and there isn't a shortcut in PhD. There is no shortcut in my experience. Yeah, there's no shortcut in PhD. Every university that you engage with, taking up a PhD, you like it or not, it's a process that you have to go through. Yeah, and when we draw a process flow, it is one after another process, right? And then sometimes you see a diamond there in between the process flow, right? And then from the diamond they say yes or no. Do you see? Right? Yeah, in the process flow. So in PhD it's like that. It's a process. So you'll go stage by stage, and suddenly you'll see a diamond. Then in the diamond, you'll see, if you go down, you go to the yes. If not, you go horizontal, then it's a no. Yeah. So PhD is like that. So you will have the initial proposal. Yeah. Initial proposal done when you enroll into the program. And then you will have the proposal defense, that is 1 year from your journey of PhD. Yeah. So then there will be a diamond there. Yeah. And then after that, you go for your pre-viva and then the viva. Yeah. But the most important thing here is you should enjoy each step in the process flow. You must enjoy each step. From my personal experience, when I was doing my PhD, I was working in Intel technology. And as you all know, working in the multinational corporation like Intel, HP, IBM, they always used to say that Intel is a pressure cooker. Yeah, yeah. So despite taking the role there as a senior manager in Intel, yeah, holding a high-level position, senior manager position in Intel, and then doing my PhD as a scholar, Intel scholar, yeah, that was very challenging. But then I enjoyed it. Here I got my colleague, Dr. Janaka. Yeah. So I enjoyed it. Why? Because it was very fulfilling that when I went through my first year PhD, yeah, and the process that I learned from a supervisor, the step-by-step process guided me very well. That when I go back to the industry, in my daily job and in my presentation to my superiors, my directors, I was able to highlight to them what is the problem in this situation, where is the gap, and what am I trying to achieve from this presentation. See that? So I applied what I studied in my PhD back into my work exposure. Yeah. My work setting, I see every day, I used to see opportunities, I used to see gaps, I used to see phenomena coming into my work setting. So I applied the PhD concept. First thing I'll put background. My first PowerPoint will be in my office, I'm talking, yeah? In my office, my work setting. Yeah? First thing I'll put background to the case. Then I'll say the issue, or I'll say the gap, or I'll say the opportunity, or I'll say the phenomenon. Yeah. Then I'll say, okay, where's the scope? Yeah. And then what am I trying to achieve? What's the primary objective of this? Then I'll say, specifically, I'm going to achieve this. Yeah. I see. So I enjoyed my PhD. So I request, if I given a chance, I can talk to you personally, one by one, to each and every one of you. Yeah. Those who are interested in embarking, taking up PhD, you must enjoy every step in a PhD. Yeah. And not everyone is going to get the best supervisor. And again, the so-called best supervisor, what do you mean by best supervisor? If someone is trying to write it for you, do you call the person the best supervisor? No, not at all. Or someone who only guides you, best supervisor? Or someone who just say, okay, go have a look at this paper, read this paper, is the best supervisor? I consider my supervisor to be the best supervisor. You know what? He only told me, go and read these books. And he recommended 5 books, research methodology books. He said, go and read these books and every month give me an update on similarities that you see among these 5 books, authors on research methodology. Share with me, what is the best of this guy? What is the best of that guy? And during that time, I really don't know. It is actually critical review. But it was critical review. Yeah. And I was forced to read the 5 books. And when I was forced to read the 5 books, I could comprehend the real meaning of the PhD process. Yeah. So here, based on that experience, when I carried that experience back to MUST, yeah, Malaysia University of Science and Technology, IPS, yeah, I want IPS to do the same thing to you, to support you through. Yeah, if you're working on a particular methodology, we'll tell you, okay, these are the reference. Please go and read this reference. Yeah, this is what you need to do. So this is how the IPS can support you through. Yeah. Well, I don't want to talk so much because this is not my session. This is Dr. Harvey's session. I should, leave it to him to take you through the session. I thought I was doing an introduction, but I went a little bit deeper into it. Yeah. Sorry, my apology for that, dear participants. My apology for that. And we are very senior people here together with us here in this forum today. Thank you very much for participating. Yeah. And also we have senior students here who have already finished their Viva. They're also here. I'm glad to see all of you here. And thank you, Dr. Harvey, for taking your time to be with us here, sharing your insight and your, I think it's also your journey, right? Yeah.
Yes. Sir.
And back to
my journey
Nirusha.
with you, sir. I told them who my supervisor was. I told them.
Oh, why you said that?
I told them you are my mentor and supervisor. Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Well, the journey between me and Dr. Harvey, I was supervising him most of the time when we were traveling.
Yeah.
Seated on the flight, while traveling, seated in the hotel, lobby. That's where my supervision task was with Dr. Harvey. Because he also couldn't find common slots. I couldn't find my common slots. So that was the time, And I still remember sitting down in coffee shop, small, little coffee shop, having black coffee and then sitting and discussing. Yeah. So that was the experience that I had with Dr. Harvey. Yep. Okay, back to you, Nirusha. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Prem Kumar Rajagopal, for the interesting sharing. Yeah. So we have a few messages in the chat box. We can see here from Giba Olabia Mujib. He said he feels that most PhD students lack of proper motivation. Yeah. So also I would like to highlight what Associate Professor Dr. Janaka mentioned here. Your PhD research won't be the only one research that you will be doing in your life. If you find something interesting, put in a bucket list and you can continue after your PhD research. That's interesting, yeah, Dr. Janaka. And also from Mr. Rajendran, he said, thanks, Dr. Harvey and IPS team. It was motivating and refreshing. Yeah. And from Miss Sundari, excellent insights, Dr. Harvey. Good job, IPS. Hoping for more information such in the future. For the sharing, Associate Professor Dr. Harvinder Singh. Thank you for the talk information. So we will provide e-certificates for all the participants today, so who have attended the workshop today. So kindly you can see a link in the chat box. Please fill up the feedback form and also fill in your full name and valid email address for us to issue the certificate. Yeah. So we will just roughly give 5 minutes for all of you to fill up the form. And while the participants are filling up, we have one question, Dr. Harvinder, from the live session YouTube channel. We have one question from Mr. Harry. If PhD adventure is from curiosity to discovery and the doctorate itself is not the end, what is beyond discovery? This is a bit complicated, but I believe you can answer the question, Dr. Harvinder.
Yes, you see, I think I would have to allude back to what Dr. Janaka just said. PhD is not about discovering what is already there. PhD is about growing knowledge. And that is the adventure of PhD, yeah, growing knowledge. And the tree of knowledge, the PhD tree of knowledge, or indeed beyond PhD, the tree of knowledge always keeps growing. We never stop learning, do we? Yeah. Yeah, so I would think that yes, it is from curiosity to discovery. And when you have already discovered something, the lens with which you view the world has already become clearer. You have a much clearer lens, a better lens. And what you will look at, how you will look at things will be in a more sophisticated way. So the benefits will keep coming, you know. You plant the tree today, the tree has grown, but the fruits you will continue enjoying for very, very long. Yeah. I think
Thank
that
you.
is, yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Harvinder. Any other questions? If we have no questions, I think we'll
have one question.
Yeah, forgot about Mr. Govind.
Gobind not allowed to ask. He asked me too many questions already.
Cheku. He's Cheku.
Yeah, I always have curiosity. So I have one question. Who should drive the journey's motivation? Because in my case, I have my own teacher and Prof. Prem to drive it for me and to what I am today. But in actual fact, who should drive the journey, the motivation of this journey? Thank you.
Prof, you want to answer this, Prof?
Okay. All right. For me, it's actually the individual because we choose to take the PhD. Yeah, I choose to take up PhD, right? So I should not be dependable on others. Yeah, and I should have my self motivation to move forward. Yeah, and of course, as any human being, we always go through the ups and downs. Yeah, and each time we fall, we should be able to kick back and say, no, this is not what I want. That's what I want. So we should be like monitoring and keep ourselves motivated. Just look at the end goal. Look at the end goal. Yeah. Look at the end goal, what you will be. Yeah. Forget about the DR. The DR doesn't mean anything. Yeah. But look at the end goal of what you can contribute back to the body of knowledge. That's important. Yeah. Like today, before coming into this session, I was in a discussion with one of the top universities in Sri Lanka with 20,000 students. Yeah. And if we can talk to that university of 20,000 students and they're willing to listen to what we are saying, meaning to say, We are an influencer. We're able to influence them. And that's what the president and the founder of the university is sitting down in the discussion. And what made us to be an influencer? It is a PhD. It's a PhD process that made us. It's not the DR. The DR is you get it as an outcome. Yeah? But the PhD process, that helped you. That helped you to gain that. Yeah. So that should, the end goal, putting the end goal very clear in your mind. And each time you go down, you push yourself up. So the motivation is self. This is what I think. In my own personal experience, it's self. Indeed, my relatives and all, if you ask me personally, when I fall sick while doing PhD, they say, hey, stop doing your PhD, enough. You're already falling sick, you're already admitted to hospital twice already. Why are you doing your PhD? Stop, enough. That was what I got from my relatives. Yeah. But the motivation is self. Seriously, I was admitted to hospital twice. Yeah. When I was doing my PhD, twice admitted. Yeah. Basically, the lack of sleep. Basically, that's yeah. Okay. Govin, I hope I have answered your question, Govin, to a certain extent.
Actually, Govin is one of the more motivated people we have seen. I don't know why he's asking that question.
You both has absolutely post so much of blessing in our journey. So thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
Thank you, Prof. Prim. And I think we have one question here from Abiola. He raised his hand up.
Okay.
Abiola, do you have a question? If no, I think we'll end the workshop today. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your active participation. We hope you have and look forward to seeing you again in our next workshop in August. Yeah. So thank you very much, everyone. Stay safe.